think probably they will win the football game. There's no doubt in my mind because they're at home. That's the big key. We talked about Brent Venables having his defense ready. He's had his hiccups, national championship game. But then again, you're playing a tremendous Alabama team, and one of their touchdowns was on special teams. But you remember when Notre Dame was knocking on that doorstep and they had that offense cranking with a backup quarterback. Louisville is dangerous, and Bobby Petrino, in my mind, is just a genius at the passing game. This is going to be one of those tremendous tests for them. But I think Clemson does win this football game and cover the spread.
K-Mac, your take?
I think Clemson's an underdog. Last I
checked.
They
will win. So, are they? At home in Death Valley?
Yeah.
Well, now I know they're going to win.
Now it's essentially a pick 'em. So both of you guys are going with Clemson?
I'm taking Clemson, yeah.
All right, I'm going to go with Louisville.
Okay.
Just to be different.
And your reason
would be? It is a pick 'em, and I think you can make a strong case. Clemson playing at home. But, boy, Lamar Jackson has just been on a tear. 25 touchdowns already this season. That's more than any team in the SEC.
Yeah. I think only one team in FBS.
19 more than South Carolina has scored this year. By him, South Carolina might not score 25 touchdowns all season at the pace they're going right now.
And Louisville is a 2-point favorite.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah, they opened as actually Clemson opened as a 3-point favorite.
Yeah, that thing moved fast.
Yeah. What about USC? Cover or not?
No. I think Texas A&M is going to lay it on them hard.
Yeah.
South Carolina's going to take some lumps with that offense right now. What they did against Kentucky has to scare you if they can't move the ball on that team. And the way the offensive line is played in big chunks this season, that has to scare you. I just don't see South Carolina handling any other SEC teams this season. Maybe Missouri, but Missouri's been scoring a lot of points.
Yeah.
So I just think South Carolina, and I'm not saying this as an indictment on Will Muschamp and his staff. It's just there's a reason why Steve Spurrier quit in the middle of last year. There's a reason why they only won 3 games. It's a rebuild, a complete rebuild job for Will Muschamp, and they're going to take their lumps this season, the rest of this season, and that's going to include Saturday.
And I think it's a learning curve because look how – and I told you last year I thought they had some personnel on defense. They just didn't have enough. People this time this year would have thought, well, we got to do something about that defense. Well, maybe you don't. That front seven has played well. Now they talk about they've had some big runs, but then again, everybody pulls big runs on Alabama now and then. They just don't do it often. But yeah, the offense is in a learning curve right now. And that is the most difficult thing right now for them.
Yeah. All right. Huge show for you tonight here on Sports Talk. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk with the coach of the new commitment for USC basketball. The coach's name is Hugo De La Rosa from down in Miami. The player's name is Ibrahim Doumbia. It could be Doumbia. I've got to get the correct pronunciation. 6'8" power forward. Based on what this coach is saying and things I've read, this young man could be a real diamond. I don't want to say in the rough, but a real diamond. 6'8", with tremendous athletic skills, according to his coach, who called him the best shooter in the country at his position when I talked to him earlier today. So we will catch up with him. We'll have the coach and the quarterback, Chuck Reedy and Steve Tannehill, with us in their regular time spots at 6:30. Mike Morgan scheduled to be with us in hour number 2. And more recruiting coming your way. We'll work in some phone calls, and we'll hear from Kevin Sumlin, Bobby Petrino, Jadar Johnson of Clemson, getting ready to face the quarterback maker, Lamar Jackson. He is number 8, Jadar. I think you'll learn that number pretty quickly when you're on the field out there on Saturday night. Busy edition of Sports Talk. We'll be right back here from Columbia.
Like it or hate it, you can discuss it tonight. This is Sports Talk. Like it or hate it. Where sports fans in South Carolina have met every
We are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, the professor, Tom Hayes, all together. Calls coming up, recruiting coming up, a whole bunch of football coming up as well. But today, basketball, big day for South Carolina, as the Gamecocks land a commitment from 6'8" Ibrahim Doumbia, native of Mali, who goes to Miami Country Day School down in Florida. His coach, Hugo De La Rosa, joins us here on Sports Talk. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
We are doing great. Great day. Yes, sir. Good to have you with us. Am I saying it right? Is it Doumbia or Doumbia?
Oh, it's Doumbia. That is correct. It's Ibrahim with an I at the beginning, and Doumbia is correct pronunciation.
Doumbia. Very good. Well, from what we discussed earlier and what I've read about him, it sounds like South Carolina has maybe uncovered a gem that could blossom into something special.
Absolutely. It's a hidden gem. He actually decided not to play travel ball this past travel ball season. And at this point, he was he had already realized he had enough of what he wanted or needed to attend college. And he had all these other Southeastern Conference schools. So he decided just to stay home and train and actually represent his country in the month of July for the World Cup in Mali.
His game, from what he said, what you said, he can play inside. He's very athletic, big around the rim, but he also is a guy that likes to roam out on the perimeter, and he's a big guy, maybe with some skills of a smaller guy.
Yes, I will say this. He has, as well as you may well know, as a Michael Carrera, and I compare him to Michael Carrera in his motor. However, he's 6'7". He's a freakish athlete. Kisses the rim when he jumps. He's got his vertical is ridiculous, and his length is also probably as much as Michael Carrera. It is just his motor is constant. Every possession, he's up and down on both sides of the ball.
Well, you mentioned Carrera and the motor for sure, but what about the physicality? And Michael was a very physical guy. Is Ibrahim, is he a physical guy like that?
He's a physical guy of that nature at the collegiate level at this point today. As we speak, he's 206 pounds. He's looking to report, and I hope to get him up to about 220 to report in June of this year. He will be that physical because of his motor being so high. He just gets after it.
Yeah.
On every possession, like Michael.
Now, we were talking earlier today. You said he's the best shooter in the country at his position. I mean, that's pretty strong words considering all the great shooters in the country. He can really knock it down from out there.
Yes, he's developed a game from the perimeter, and I did say that I believe within my eyes and what I've seen throughout the summer and throughout the the 2 live periods in April and July, and what I saw out there, and compared to what I have back home, and watching him train and go up against guys of his size or his athleticism, he shoots it very well, and he can contest to that position that I talked about in the country. Yes.
Well, you know, Coach Frank Martin really is a stickler, and really as a defensive coach, just looking at a little tape of the player, it looks like he can guard several different positions. Is he a guy that you would say could, when he matures physically, you would put him on maybe the other team's best offensive player?
Whatever coach decides, and whether it's myself or at the next level with Frank Martin, I believe that Ibrahim will take the task on just because his coach has directed him to do so. Now, in preparation, he has prepared to guard the bigger guy or even the stronger guy. He's agile and he's versatile that way, that he can actually guard on the perimeter, and he can guard the post as well, because he's a great shot blocker. He's got a great second jump. So he's a great shot blocker around the rim protector of it.
And it sounds like, I mean, he's a very good student. He sought out in looking at schools, an academic setting that was favorable for him. He wants to major in international business at South Carolina, and that's #1 school in the country. Now, that's a demanding proposition for a regular student, much less an athlete. Is he set up to handle the demands of that kind of academic pursuit, along with the demands of playing for Frank Martin and playing high major basketball?
I'll say this: Miami Coach Day is a preparatory school where kids actually are prepared in the classroom on a daily basis. Everything is earned, and as much as sweat equity is taken into on the court, off the court, in the classroom with a particular teacher, math, English, and so forth, he excels highly in those classrooms. And at first, of course, because of language barrier, I would call him a blue-collar student. At this point, I consider him a white-collar student. I believe his freshman year, he's going to slide through. And his goals are to actually attain a master.
That's great. Now, he loves Frank Martin, and he likes Frank Martin's style of coaching. He likes the high intensity, kind of in your face, hard driving style of play that he requires. That he craves that kind of basketball and that kind of coaching.
Well, yes, I'm particularly not Frank Martin. However, we come from the same tutelage, the same mentor, same /coach, and Shaky Rodriguez. So that's our platform, and we expect much more than what you give us. And when I say we, I say Frank and I both. And Ibrahim thrives that. He thrives that, and he listens. He listens to the message, not so much the messenger, but the message as being attained. He's very analytical, so he'll take it in, sponge it up, and then he performs.
Yeah,
and he applies.
Well, I tell you what, he sounds like a real special type of person and player, and I know Frank Martin had to be just ecstatic to land him, and look forward to following him this season and then seeing him when he gets to Columbia and following his career. And we thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, I appreciate your time and your effort to reach out to me. And yes, he is a very special person. And for me, it's bittersweet because this is my last year coaching him.
Yeah.
And the sweet part of it is that Frank will, and the University of South Carolina and the community as well, will be able to see and feel what I see and what I feel about Ibrahim Doumbia.
Coach, thanks very much, and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Evening. You too. Thank you. That's Hugo De La Rosa from down, and Ibrahim Doumbia, 6'7" now, the official height, 6'7", 206, coming to South Carolina. And this is a real nice kid from my little bit of contact with him through text messaging primarily, though we have spoken on the phone. The language barrier, a little bit of an issue, but not great. He speaks, okay English, fragmented English, but it's okay. And very polite, though, and he really wanted to he's not much into social media. He's not much into media at all, the player we're talking about. And he really wanted this done in a quiet manner in terms of putting the word out there. He called Frank Martin this morning to give him his official commitment, and then he put a little thing out on Twitter about it, and just seems like a very focused and driven individual.
Did like Tim Duncan, just walk away. I'm retired. I'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing, the reason why I ask him about defense, Corn, is because if they're bringing in Cater and these 2 7-footers, and then, PJ Dozier will still be there.
Mm-hmm.
You got so much length in the interior and on the perimeter, which is what Frank Martin has always preached. As soon as he got into South Carolina's front door, he wanted length. He wanted it all over the court. And, it's taken him some time. What is his 4th year? And he's piling it up.
And he's still recruiting a 6'10" kid, Nick Claxton,
Mm-hmm.
out of Greenville, that he has a legitimate shot at this particular time. And there's still the Schuler kid, the guard, they're recruiting out of Oak Hill. So he's still doing work. Hard to believe basketball practice begins on Monday.
Wow.
Here come the hoops. We'll be right back.
We go inside the huddle with the coach and the quarterback up next. This is Sports Talk.
All right, it is time for the coach and the quarterback here on Sports Talk on this Thursday. Chuck Reedy and the quarterback, Steve Tannehill. Good to have the two of you with us. Steve, let me ask you over there at the new bar that you have in 5 Points, Tannehill's Group Therapy. Does business go up or down when the Gamecocks lose?
I want to say it's high either way.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a more happy crowd if we can win some football games.
I mean, I was just thinking after a loss, people want to drown their sorrows. I figure your place is a good place to go.
Yeah, I'd rather see them happy. If home games, if it's not close to halftime, I imagine business will pick up. But I'd rather the Gamecocks win and everybody come in and be excited, and that's the way I want to do it. But we'll take it the other way. Business is business.
I understand. Coach Reedy, all right, let's start with Clemson and what's ahead for them Saturday night. I'm sure you've seen Lamar Jackson and what he's doing. I mean, 25 touchdowns in 4 games. Come on. What do you think of what he's doing and how much is it him or the scheme or the people around him?
Well, I think it's a combination of all those. Obviously, he's a special talent, but they've got skilled people, at all skill positions, and their offensive line is playing well. They're hitting on all cylinders right now, and but they haven't played a defense as good as Clemson's. And what I think Clemson has they've played to the level of their competition all year. I mean, they've done what they've had to do to win, and I really expect them to rise to the occasion Saturday night and play at the level that everybody expected them to play at. Now, whether that's good enough to beat Louisville remains to be seen, but I think you'll see a Clemson team that is entirely different than what we've seen up to this point. Mm-hmm. They were good in the first half against Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech's not a very good football team. But I think, on the big stage, I think, you'll see the Clemson that everybody was looking for. Yeah.
Do you think you'll see more of an offensive Clemson team like you saw in the Alabama game, a more assertive Deshaun Watson, more Wayne Gallman, more out of the running game?
Well, certainly that's what they want. They're having a hard time running the football. And you hear everything from up there as people are taking away the run. Well, that's a smart thing to do. But you wouldn't think with the guy who should be the best quarterback in the country and the best group of receivers in the country, you'd be playing right into their hands. But Deshaun has not been as accurate, as he was a year ago. He's missed a good number of deep throws, but hitting all those things and start catching everything, then the running game will come back. But Louisville, I'm sure, is going to do the same. Louisville's played them better defensively than anybody in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And they've got, Louisville has 8 starters back on defense. I mean, they're a heck of a defensive football team. So it's going to be a real challenge. And if they take away the running game, and they have the last couple of years, then it'll be all on Deshaun and the receivers throwing and catching.
But wouldn't that be okay? Because he's a great thrower.
It should be. Yeah. It should be. But what I'm saying, now the first half of the game, Georgia Tech, they were rolling, but throughout the first 4 games, they've not been as sharp throwing and catching the ball as what you would expect them to be. Mm. And and Deshaun really has not. Because of the fact that people are ganging up a little bit on the run, he hasn't had the run opportunities that he had at the end of last year either.
Yeah.
So, but they hit 2 or 3 long passes, and they've had people open deep. They just haven't, they haven't hit them. And if they can do that, then then everything then comes back around to them.
Steve, quarterback, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson. I know they don't face off against each other per se, but they'll be leading their respective teams. What about the year Jackson's having so far? You ever seen anything close to that? And what do you see in his skills?
He's got a lot of skills, a great skill set. A lot, to me, it's a little different than Watson's skill set. I think they're both really good quarterbacks. I think Watson's more ready to play at the next level. But what the Louisville quarterback's done in the first 4 games is, and especially he did it. You know, you can say what you want, but Florida State is one of the, has some of the best talent year in and year out. They're always in the top of the recruiting rankings every year. And to hang 62 or whatever that game was, and don't forget this, Petrino's a pretty good coach. I mean, off the field, he might have some things going on, but as far as his knowledge of offense and football, he's an awful good football coach. So I think Saturday, I tell you, this Saturday I will be in front of the TV, because I want to see these two guys go at it. I'm hoping for a high-scoring game so they get to showcase their talents. But if you like quarterback, these two guys can really play, and they got good wideouts. I'm with Coach. Clemson's problem, it's a lot like South Carolina's problem. They haven't ran the ball real well, and that hurts. That hurts production a little bit, and it does let defense. It puts you in those 3rd and longs, and that's just tough. But on Saturday night at 8 o'clock, I need to be in front of the TV because both those quarterbacks are fun to watch and great players.
Now Louisville has played Clemson close in the 2 times they've met the last 2 years, and relatively low-scoring games. And they had a chance to win both of those games. They mishandled the final minutes at Clemson 2 years ago, and then held on to win. Clemson held on to win and came from behind, I think it was, to win last year at Louisville. So, Steve, both of these teams will go in with a lot of confidence. Do you see Clemson's defensive front, as disruptive as it can be, having an opportunity to maybe stuff Louisville's running game and thus putting everything on Jackson's shoulders, and then, because of that, being able to set up their defense to handle what he can throw their way?
Well, Florida State's defense is very fast, and Clemson's defense is very fast. And they managed to score a lot of points on Florida State's defense. I think Clemson and Florida State are comparable. I'm not saying that either. I don't, obviously they'll play each other, but it's number 6 for Clemson is such a talent, and their D-line is big, and I think they'll take away some of that running game, but the quarterback can make plays and go 80 in a heartbeat. He's that type of talent. So I'm not sure what Clemson Coach Venables is one of the best in college football, and he'll have a good plan, and they do have some bodies that can, start that plan a little bit. So it ought to be interesting to watch that game and see how the defensive coordinators prepare and see what they try to do. You kind of know early what their plan is, but I just see a shootout. I think it's going to be one of those fun games to watch, and I think it can go either way. No question about it. I think both teams are awful good, and it can go either way. It'll come down to, maybe which running back, makes a few plays, or which quarterback just comes out there and has the better game.
Yeah. All right, hang on, guys. We're going to hit a break here, and we'll come back with more. We'll talk about South Carolina and Texas A&M, and we'll also get Coach Reedy's thoughts on what happened at LSU this week with a mid-year changing of the leadership there with the Tigers. So we'll get back to the coach and the quarterback here coming up. Last year, K-Mac, you were at Louisville. Clemson won that game 2017. Of course, Jackson wasn't the quarterback. And Louisville only rushed for 19 yards that night.
It was surprising he didn't play more in that game. He had a couple of plays, but they did not play him much in that matchup.
And Clemson had to hold on. Louisville had that 100-yard kickoff return that made it get interesting in the fourth quarter, but the Tigers held on. Back with more of the coach and the QB in a moment. All right, let's continue with the coach, Chuck Reedy, and the quarterback, Steve Tannehill, for a couple of more minutes here on Sports Talk. Before we get to a USC Texas A&M, one more question for you, Chuck. Just watching some video of Louisville's offense, and they line up in trips, and in reading and watching, they get open a lot. This was against Florida State. Their receivers get really open somehow in the formations that they were using. Petrino and his formations and his ability to get his receivers in good matchups and open. How does he do it?
Well, first of all, go back. Petrino's probably the best offensive guy in the country. I mean, the guy, you know, I mean, he's the best. But you know, everything that they're doing, you know, they're throwing everything on time, and when you got trips, and they're all breaking in different directions or whatever the case may be. There's a scheme there, but you know, the quarterback is. I mean, he's throwing it on time, and when they come out of that break, you know, I mean, he's got his keys and he knows exactly where he's going, and so they're throwing everything on time, and you know, it's very difficult to stop that. I mean, you know, regardless of the defense, I mean. Even, you know, if they're where they're supposed to be, if the ball is thrown on time and it's thrown, you know, into the right guy in the right spot, you know, it's going to be very difficult to cover.
Yeah. All right. Steaks and Texas A&M. A&M's a hot team. Boy, they had a big offensive game last week against Arkansas. The quarterback was outstanding, Trevor Knight. We talk about quarterback at Louisville being hot. This guy was hot with his legs and his arm. Can the Gamecocks make this a competitive game?
I would call this a gut check game for South Carolina. I think they got up come out and I think the worst possible thing is to come out and get blown out. But it can happen. I mean, Texas A&M is talented. I worry about the big defensive end for Texas A&M causing us some trouble. I don't think our offensive line's played that well. And we got to find ways to score some points. If all we can muster is 10 points, we've got to be able to score. Texas A&M can score, and we've got to play. I think our defense has played hard. Again, we scored 10 points on Kentucky's defense, who I don't think is very good, not comparable to the talent level of Texas A&M. So we're going to need some breaks to go our way. I'm hoping that the guys come out and being at home and show some fight. But we've got to find some offense. If we don't find some offense, it could get lopsided.
Chuck, where can the Gamecocks find some offense?
Recruiting. I'm
talking about they got 2 days. They got 2 days to find some offense.
Let me tell you something. They don't have a playmaker on the field, and they can do what they want to do, but there's not a playmaker out there. And, you got a freshman quarterback who's, going to be a good player, but, right now, he's not a real good thrower. He's so-so with his feet. I mean, he's not going to make a lot of great plays with his feet, and you make a play. You don't have a receiver that can make a play. Maybe Samuels will be back. The guy's been hurt ever since he's been there. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that. So, I mean, the truth of the matter is there's just, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're going to have a tough time. I mean, you can call good plays, but if you don't have guys that can make some plays, it's very difficult, to consistently move the football. And, if you can't run it, if they can't run it and they have to, with a bunch of young receivers, it'll be a long, long afternoon.
Yeah, I think John Chavis coached defense besides, of course, having some tremendous talents. Huh?
That just makes it that much more difficult. I mean, there you go. I mean, there's a guy that, again, he's one of the top 5 defensive guys in the country. I mean, it's a tough situation. I mean, but there's no way around it. They've just got to recruit better players.
Steve, what are you seeing in McElwain right now? Is he settling in? Or is the game still too fast for him? As Coach was saying, is it just he just has to get some? They've just got to get some talent around him so he can have someone to get the ball to, either running or throwing. How do you see what he's doing?
If the running game would help, I think it would help him. But again, I feel the same way as Coach. Samuels is always hurt. He's been always hurt. You can't make the club in the tub, is the saying we used to say. The only guy out there making some play now, Hayden Hurst has made some plays, but he's not a game breaker. But Edwards is the guy on the edge, and I think McElwain's development is hurt by the lack of guys around him, and our offensive line hasn't played that well. And you've got to worry about that this week with the big defense end, who might be the number 1 player drafted come April. So it's a tough task. I wish they'd do some trick plays or something, just to try some things, because 10 points is not going to cut it in the SEC unless you're Alabama, unless you have a defense like that. And even that's not going to win you a lot of games. So we've got to find ways to score, and Texas A&M defense is going to be a lot better than Kentucky, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, Chuck, real quick. I guess in the Les Miles case, it's proven once again when it comes to coaching, no matter how great you are, it seldom ends well. And that was the case for a guy that had a great career at LSU.
Well, yeah, I mean, the guy had a great record, had great success, recruited well. You know, I think his downfall was probably not hiring the right guys as the offensive coordinator. Cam Cameron's been around a long time. I'm sure the guy's a good football coach, a friend of Les Miles. They coached together, but you know, just never and never. You know, really was able to recruit the kind of quarterbacks that you need to win in the SEC. They're great on defense, but you know, but also looking at that, you know, you lose a guy like John Chavis. You know, why do you leave LSU to go to Texas A&M? You know, then you hire Kevin Steele. Why does Kevin Steele leave to go to Auburn?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, so a lot of it. Obviously, Les Miles is a good football coach, although he may be the worst clock management guy that I've ever seen. But regardless of that, I mean, you know, he did a lot of really good things, but you know, he had some problems, you know, staff wise, and shoot, that'll kill you.
Yeah, hiring friends and family to be your assistants can sometimes come back to bite you. Yep, guys. Not that you ever did that.
He got 12.6 million buyout.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen,
Let's don't feel sorry for
I'm not crying for the guy. But, you know, unbelievable record, and he showed the door. Listen, we got to go. We thank you so much, Steve. I hope you sell a lot of stuff over there this weekend. Enjoy.
Yeah, let's get a win. Let's make it even better.
Yeah, and Coach, you enjoy sitting around the pool doing whatever you do on the weekend now. Okay.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next week. All right, the coach and the quarterback.
Well, it doesn't help you that Nick Saban is sitting in the middle of your division. Nick Saban gonna have half the SEC West fired.
Well, I mean, go beat him. All right, you're gonna cower from him.
No,
you're gonna be scared of the guy, the big bully down the street.
You gotta do like Ole
stand
Miss.
up to him.
You gotta cheat.
Do what you have to do. you do what you have to do. All right, we will hit the top of the hour break. Lots coming up in hour number 2. Don't leave us. We'll be right back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. And the world famous, growing more and more popular by the day, the What the Phone Line. WTF. What the Phone Line. We spell phone F-O-N-E.
You got to be careful when we do this segment, too, to make sure we don't.
You got to be focused, because if you just relax and start to say it, you could say the wrong thing.
Start thinking you're hanging out with your boys on the golf course.
What the Phone Line. 803-509-2705. Now, this isn't just up for the weekend. It's available all week. If you hear something
available
here
right now
or somewhere else, you can't get to us on the air, you don't want to wait, or you're busy, or you're scared you're going to forget the thought, you can call the What the Phone Line, 803-509-2705. Leave your thoughts there. If you go renegade on us and leave a lot of filthy language, we'll beep that out. So you might as well just wait. Don't waste your time, because everything is edited from that standpoint. But we're not going to let any dirty language go out over the air or anything really gross. Okay, so don't try and test us that way. But if something bothers you, something upsets you, you don't have time to wait for us here, you don't want to send an email, just call the What the Phone Line, 803-509-2705. In fact, I think we have a juicy comment that's been on the line, I guess since yesterday. Last night it came in sometime. So came in this morning.
Heard a clip of the show last night.
Okay, well let's see what's on the What the Phone Line.
Hey, Corn, I heard about your coughing fit last night.
As we welcome in the de facto mayor of the city of Charleston.
Where have I heard that before?
And your mayor, thanks to Mayor Jackson.
Get well soon, Fillery.
Fillery.
Oh, that's good. That really wasn't on the What the Phone Line.
That was done. Now that was
somebody actually produced that and called it in.
That was Bill Pollock, our colleague in Missouri.
No,
was
Big Bill
tuned into the show? Yeah, Big Bill in Missouri.
By the way, I'm going to share this with everybody, because as you can tell, I'm back to normal. Okay.
Are you? So that's a very relative.
What is normal?
I'm having just an occasional cough, a little bit of postnasal drip, and an occasional flare up of fever. But otherwise, I'm in really good shape. You know how bad I was yesterday. Here's my formula for all who wants to know. Of course, if you die from this, I'm not taking responsibility. Okay. If it kills you, that's your problem. But as soon as you feel the cold coming on, and for me, everybody's different. It starts in my throat. It's because I talk for a living. I get a lot of germs in the throat from these microphones and being around the people I'm around. Coldies. None of this. I'm not plugging. I don't make any money from any of these people. Coldies. As soon as you feel the cold come on, pop a Coldies tablet and take those the first day or so, as frequently as they say you can take it. Then a lot of water. Then goodies powder. Goodies, just like Richard says, they're good for everything. If I have a bad stain on a shirt, I put some goodies on it, throw it in the washer. It does a hell of a job. Inside your body, imagine what it's doing. Okay? Goodies. Cures everything. And then Afrin is really good for the congestion. That combination, I felt better. Last night was sort of a little bit of a fitful night, but once the fever broke, I was feeling great. About the time Mark Teixeira hit his game-winning grand slam to beat the Red Sox.
Yeah. What happened after the game in the locker room?
The Yankees celebrated. They had a big celebration.
On the field. On the field.
The Yankees celebrated on the field.
Oh, and where did the Red Sox celebrate?
You mean they backed into the division title?
Oh.
How they backed in? Yeah, they had a little celebration in their locker room.
What place are they in?
We're still alive. We're not eliminated.
Not yet.
Yeah.
4 back with 4 to go.
No.
Now, when I was in my 20s, I used to get rid of a cold, put some sweats on, and run it out.
Yeah. I thought about that. I prefer my way.
Here's the other best way you can do it. I worked in construction one summer when I was in college. Guy said I have the best cure in the world for a cold. We were working on a church, and they had flying buttresses that we had to get rid of. The little extensions made out of brick or stone inside the church. He said, I got just the thing for a summer cold. And he handed me a sledgehammer to knock down. And you know what? At the end of the day, after swinging that sledgehammer, that cold was gone.
You can sweat it out. There's no question that sweating it out is another way to go about it. But I like my formula. It's tried and true.
Sounds like it's really working.
Well, it is. I mean, here it is. Basically, this thing started on Sunday, and here it is Thursday.
5 days later, it's course.
Well, most colds will take a week to a week and a half. I feel like I cut this thing down several days. So, all right, you go next time you get a bad cold, K-Mac, don't come crying to me. All right. I'm not sharing my formula for extended life health with you. To recruiting. See, K-Mac's just disappointed because another opportunity for me to pass away, and it's
I openly root for your death, Corn. That's what kind of person I am.
It missed once again. All right, here we go. Some recruiting. Of course, you heard us the basketball. We interviewed the coach of Ibrahim Doumbia, committing to South Carolina. Also in basketball, Roy Williams from North Carolina. He was in on Tuesday to see 2018 Zion Williamson up in Spartanburg. USC's Frank Martin was in on Wednesday. Wofford's Mike Young was in today to visit with him. Hey, look, they've got a brand new building going up at Wofford. It's right in your backyard. Be real convenient for everybody. Probably not going to happen for Wofford and Zion Williamson. That would be a major recruiting upset. Williamson is going to Clemson Saturday and to USC next Saturday. He'll make many other visits to other schools as time moves on. Football. Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables up in New Jersey Saturday to watch Paramus Catholic play. He's recruiting, of course, their injured linebacker Drew Singleton and the defensive end Corey bumped out with a torn ACL. The recruiting interest in him remains very strong. And his coach, Dan Sabella, said that's a good sign that Venables was there to see him. The interest, of course, goes both ways. Bolds said he also spoke with Venables Monday. He said the two talk about 3 or 4 times a week. He says the relationship is strong. They have a good relationship, and they've been recruiting him since he's a sophomore. Bolds said he also consistently hears from Rutgers, Pitt, Penn State, and Georgia. He also has had Cal, Michigan, Maryland, and Alabama in his lead group. He has not decided on his official visits, but he said Cal probably will get one. Bolds originally had planned to announce a decision on his birthday, which was yesterday, but now he plans to wait until after the season. Defensive back Natron Culpepper of Miami has rescheduled his official visit to USC to the weekend of the Georgia game on October 8th. He was originally going to visit USC this weekend, but he said that got messed up and he had to reschedule. Very interested in South Carolina, still hears regularly from the coaching staff. Travaris Robinson's been in touch. He also hears from Utah, Mississippi State, and Michigan State the most. He's going to Maryland October 15th, Michigan State November 19th. Offensive lineman Jerry Drake Jr., 6'6", 310, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, recently offered by USC, and he'll take an official visit with the Gamecocks this weekend. Along with USC, he's recently been hearing from Mississippi State, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, North Carolina, South Florida, and West Virginia. Somebody say something.
No, I was about to say, Brent Venables wants that linebacker from Paramus, New Jersey. Go to Dabo, go to Dan Radakovich, and say, let's schedule a high school game in Death Valley. Did Michigan do that?
Yes, with that team. Okay, I got a few more notes to get to once my throat clears up here from a little drip. We'll be right back. All right, got some news on the Gamecocks and their injury situation, and apparently it is not good. We'll get to that in just a moment. Want to wrap up recruiting. I was talking about Jerry Drake Jr. coming in, 6'6", 310, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Official visit for him. Also hearing from Mississippi State, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, North Carolina, South Florida, and West Virginia. He's in touch regularly with a USC line coach, Sean Elliott. And he's interested in engineering, and so that's going to be a big thing with him when he makes his decision. 2018 defensive back Brendan Harris of Chattanooga has a Clemson offer. He's in touch with the Tigers regularly. Also Alabama, Notre Dame, Mississippi State, and Navy. He'll be at Clemson Saturday night. He was at Florida, Tennessee last weekend. 2018 defensive lineman Damian Daly of Ridgeview heard from Clemson and USC early in the summer, not since. Offers from Cincinnati and Georgia State. Also hearing from Old Dominion, Louisville, Notre Dame, Purdue, and Central Florida. 2018 receiver DeMarcus Gregory of Burns. Offers from USC, NC State, North Carolina, Wake Forest. He hears from USC and Clemson every day. Also hearing from Florida, Georgia, Virginia Tech, Penn State, and Florida State. 2018 offensive lineman Trey Hill, Warner Robins, Georgia. Clemson is offered. Georgia, Auburn, Florida State, and Coastal. And 2018 linebacker Owen Papo of Loganville, Georgia, will be at Clemson Saturday night. He's big time. All right, there you go. With recruiting, always available online on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. On Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. And if you got a lead on a prospect you want us to check on, call the phone line number. You can leave your information there, 803-509-2705. What the heck is going on K-Mac and these injuries?
Well, the hamstrings, a lot of hamstring injuries at the wide receiver position. Will Muschamp saying on his Collins show tonight that Deebo Samuel and Brian Edwards game time decisions with hamstring injuries. Samuel's been dealing with one, I think, since birth, it would appear. But Edwards, he tweaked his at the end of the Kentucky game on Tuesday. Muschamp said he thought he was going to be fine. He practiced, but he is now a game time decision. And we already know that Rendrakus Davis is going to miss the game with a hamstring injury. He missed last week as well. And that's why Javon Charleston has moved from defensive back to the offense where he was originally before he moved in the preseason. And from there, I know they wanted to redshirt Lorenzo Nunez. Does this mean Lorenzo Nunez gets a bigger role this weekend? Some better news, though, on the injury front for the Gamecocks. Offensive lineman Blake Camper will return to action this week. That's a little bit sooner than they expected. And as we have heard, it's been confirmed Rico Dowdle will see his first action of the season. Gamecock running back. He'll start on special teams and maybe get some snaps. And Torrey Board, of course, leaving the team to transfer the safety.
I know Marcus Lattimore put something out there about Rico Dowdle and something special. But listen, if there's no room to run, he's not going to be very special. So it depends on what's open in front of him, what the line does. I mean, Marcus Lattimore, had he not had a good offensive line in front of him, would not have had the success that he had at South Carolina.
Stack the box. If you're, are you concerned about USC's passing attack at all right now? If you're a defensive coordinator, I mean, you can just sell out and stop the run. And if you can't run the football, if you're one-dimensional, then you're in trouble. But South Carolina's not even one-dimensional; they're no-dimensional. They have nothing on their offense that they're good at. They're just a bad offense right now for a lot of very obvious reasons.
Yeah. All right. I want you to hear what Kevin Sumlin had to say about South Carolina. Now, he's not going to be quite as blunt as K-Mac was. I think he has some respect for the Gamecock offense. And, of course, coming to Columbia, being on the road, he knows that's going to help the home team. And so he's coming in this game with eyes wide open, knowing they're coming off a big win and knowing they're going to find a fired-up USC team trying to win a big game under Will Muschamp.
There's, people make changes with coaching for different reasons. Will is a guy that has a lot of experience in this league. They're entering really a new system, and you know, they've been pretty good defensively. I think they're second in the league in scoring defense right now, just in our league. So, you know, he and T-Rob have been together for a while. You know, they were at Florida. Defensively, they're always going to be good. And I think they're still trying to get an identity offensively, but defensively, there's never been a Will Muschamp team that's hadn't been salty. So, you know, it's a great place to play. They got, you know, anybody who went over there a couple of years ago knows that the fans have a lot of passion, and it's loud. It's you know, we had the opportunity to play that. I think we opened the SEC network on
Thursday night.
there on a Thursday night. So you know, there's a lot of it's a place with a lot of pride, and you know, anytime you go on the road in this league, you better be ready to play, and that's our message. You know, every week we just want to get a little bit better, and we want to be 1-0, and I think our guys have focused on that even from day to day. But certainly this week, going on the road, this is our furthest road trip this year, and you know, for some young guys that are playing, you know, it's really, you know, going up, riding a bus to Dallas, a little bit different. The first week we went to Auburn. You know, you take for granted. We had a couple guys never been on planes before. You know, you don't even think about that. So they're looking around. They're not like, what's wrong with you? You know, they're looking out the window. Didn't help that the plane skipped on the runway on the way back at 3 o'clock in the morning. That didn't help our confidence. Just in case you guys didn't know, we got back at 3.
Yes, sir.
And
Bounced.
we bounced. And I think we ran out of runway because I looked back up and we were circling College Station again. So, you know, for the guys who never been on a plane before, they're a little bit even more nervous this week. But it'll be all right. You know, we've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football, sneaking those guys in from a special team standpoint, and they're gaining confidence every week. But you know, we got to bring our A game every week here. If we've learned anything over the last few years, we've learned that. We should have.
They should show Captain Sully as their in-flight movie on the way over. That's what Will Muschamp should have.
All right,
find a way to make that happen.
Kevin Sumlin, coach at Texas A&M, and boy, I tell you what, their offense is really something special. One of the best in the country coming into this game. They're averaging over 500 yards per game. And, you know, this is polar opposites on offense. You know, a team that is rolling up big yards and big scoring numbers against a team that is next to last in the country in scoring, South Carolina. I guess offense, as I think about it, I mean, offense, well, we've seen the extremes at South Carolina. We've seen the defense be one of the worst in the country a couple of years ago, and now we're seeing the offense be one of the worst in the country. You know, to be a successful long-term program, you got to find that balance in there somewhere where you're not so bad on one side and not so bad on the other side at the same time. Maybe even try and be good both ways.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about it is the special teams have not been that bad. It's all on the offense, learn the offense. But I say anytime you simplify an offense, it's dangerous because there's graphing stuff to the other team. The key point about Texas A&M and Louisville's offense as well, Corn, is because their defense has played decently in the beginning of the game, their offenses are always set up almost well beyond their own 35 or 40-yard line. So they have a short field. So the combination of getting a short field, having a salty defense and talent, those offenses are rolling.
Yeah, and the speed at which they play and the number of plays that they get off in the game, all that factors into what they've been able to do so far this year. We will continue. Jamie Chadwell, coach of Charleston Southern, coming up. He's got a big one on Saturday. Back in a moment.
All right, let's get some quick.
We are back, Sports South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us. Thursday night, heading into another big football weekend. You got Houston playing tonight, highly ranked team taking on Connecticut at home. Shouldn't be much of a problem for the Cougars, but you never know. Anytime you tee it up, funny things can happen. Big game tomorrow night. You got Stanford and Washington. And, of course, we got big games in our state we've been talking about. And truly, one of the biggest in terms of the quality of the teams, the rivalry, the intensity is going to be taking place at Coastal Carolina, Charleston Southern, and Buccaneer coach Jamie Chadwell joining us now. We had Coach Moglia with us last night. We get the other side of the picture from Coach Chadwell. Coach, how you doing?
Hey, Phil, I'm doing really well. How about you?
We're doing great. Thank you for joining us. And, well, how are you feeling going into this one against Coastal Carolina?
Well, we've got confidence. They're really good, but I like how our team's coming together through some of the adversity we had, earlier in this year. We're still, quarterbacks are growing, obviously with their injury to our starter, so we're a little hoping that those guys can improve their play from the last couple of weeks. But we think we've got a good squad coming up there, and we know it's going to be a big challenge. We've not had a lot of success up in Conway. And for whatever reason, so we're hoping we can get off that snide and play well and come out with a victory.
Well, I tell you, it's been kind of a weird year for you, with everything that's happened on and off the field. How have you personally handled it to this point? And how do you feel about things moving forward and what you guys can accomplish this season?
Well, it's been tough because, a lot of it you didn't know about, or if you knew, you didn't know what was happening, when it was happening. So there was a lot of, going into each week, there's a lot of what ifs. You might be practicing all week, then on a Thursday, find out about this or that. And the people that you have to replace hadn't really gotten a lot of reps. So that was a challenge for the coaches and for the players, because we were always on this edge, not knowing what was going on. But we've tried to take the approach that, we can't control, what the NCAA says or how they're going to respond. And we can't make excuses for our play. We got to play with who we got out there. And we talk a lot about a standard that we want to play in our program, no matter who's playing, whether it's the starter, whether we've got the backup quarterback in, you've got to play at a high level. And so we've really tried to lean on that, and just lean on each other through these times. I think when you do that as a family, when you go through tough times, if you have each other, you can get through it. And it's been tough, but I think we've come through it closer as a family. So I think it's helped us, as far as a team coming together. You worry about that chemistry, but we're a long ways away, in my opinion, from being a good team, because just all those distractions, guys missing some practice. There's just been a lot of things that has not been smooth, and it seems like we played a whole year of football and we're still in September,
Mm-hmm.
And so there's been a heavy burden there, but the future's looking good. I think that's all behind us in the past as far as anybody missing games and any of that nature. So we feel like that's behind us, and we're trying, after our first conference game last week, it was good to get back into a conference game. And even though this one's not a conference one, it's a big rivalry and it's an important rivalry, and our guys are looking forward to really getting into a rhythm and a routine of playing and having something because of all the distractions. So I think more than anything, we're excited about that now that, it's the second week in a row that you have a routine and you get a chance to play, and you're playing and really it's been a national recognized program for a long time, and that helps us and what we're trying to accomplish.
Sure. Our first chance to talk to you since all this came down, and as it came down, we're reading the information and all this and the punishment and what exactly led to this, and you shake your head and you go, you're kidding me, right? They're going to force guys to sit out and punish the coach and all this stuff over this, and wondering how it left you feeling about things at the school, and wondering, who's got my back and where's my support here? I mean, are you okay with the way everything was handled?
Well, we want to, I'll say this, we want to make sure we're doing right by the NCAA, make sure we're within the rules of what they want us to abide by, and we're doing that. There was a situation that was really out of our control that happened, and we handled it, the school and through the NCAA handled it the best in the best way they thought would be the best for them. As the head coach, are you happy that you're suspended? Are you happy that you lose games? Players losing games? No, not at all. But you understand you're part of a big picture, and you're part of trying to make sure it's right. You want to make sure we're doing everything right, and that's what we felt like was the best thing we needed to do to move forward. Then you support it. Obviously, because you never want to. Your players put so much work in, and you only play so limited games. It's not basketball and baseball, as when you're playing all these games. One game of football, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a challenge for them because they were hurting. It's frustrating for me to have to miss some time, but that's part of what we as a leader of the team, we talk about to our team all the time. Is that, you have to stand up and do what's right for the team and put the team first, and that's what we're doing. And we're learning from it. I'm learning from it, and we'll move forward with it.
All right, now this Coastal team, they're down on quarterbacks. They're playing a true freshman and not who they expected to be their quarterback at this stage in the season. Yet they continue to win, except for that loss at Jacksonville State by a point. They're finding a way, and of course they have the great running back in Henderson. How much of your defense do you design for Henderson, figuring that's where they're going to go heavy against you guys with their quarterback situation being the way it is?
Well, he's obviously, their running game, him specifically, they've got some other good ones there. But if we can try to limit that, make them one-dimensional. Now they've got good receivers, but the quarterback's young. He played really well last week versus Furman, and they played a couple guys. And they've got, the thing with Coastal, it's not like their guys are just guys. They're really good. They just don't have a lot of experience. So, but we feel like if we can figure out a way to control him, not let him get big plays, make him earn everything, and put them in situations where those quarterbacks, have to make some plays from that pocket where they're not, it's not third and short, it's third and long constantly. If we can do that, we like our chances. If they do a great job scheme wise, if they get him out and get him out in the perimeter things, they can give us some issues they've had the last 3 years every game. He's had a pretty good game against us. So that's the whole key, in my opinion, is that. And, we have a young quarterback too. So whoever doesn't turn it over.
Yeah.
And, who just ever won't do that and make some of the basic plays, I think has a good chance of winning. Because we feel good about our skill guys. We've got some explosive guys, and they do as well. If we can hem them in, that gives us the better chance because they're as good. But Alex Ross was a special player at cornerback, and maybe this guy they've got will beat him eventually. He's not there right now, and that's it gives you hope as defense. Hey, if we can shut him down, shut the running game down, then we like our chances. Now that's easier said than done, as because he's scored 30 straight touchdowns and all those things. But they're a good team. But our defense is focused on that, and it's talked about that all week. Hey, we've got to stop that run.
Yeah, and like you said, you're down. Your starting quarterback went down the first game, Kyle Copeland, and you're going with Shane Busanel now, and he'll make his first career start on Saturday. So you're young too.
We are, unfortunately, and the thing that I like about Shane, he's a competitive guy. Shane's one of those guys that's just a gym rat. Has really worked himself into position to be where he's at. He's just inexperienced. Each week you see something a little different, and once he sees it, he adjusts to it. But sometimes that first time seeing it is a disaster, and you have to overcome it. But we feel like we've got some good players around him. We've just got to put him in a position to where he doesn't feel like he has to win the game. And if we can run the ball, which that's what we try to do. And 2 out of the 3 years we've been able to run the ball pretty well. When we beat them, the year that we got the guy after us, they really shut us down. So we've got to be able to do that and put him in advantageous positions where we're throwing it because we want to, not because we have to. If we can do that, that's what our goal is. And I think this is going to be one of the games that comes down to somebody's going to probably make a play on special teams, and that might be the difference in a game. They've got a really
And we thank Chadwell, Coach Jamie Chadwell, again for being with us tonight here on Sports Talk. See if they can score big on Saturday at Conway. You can score big with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders has convenient office locations at USC, new location at Clemson, ATMs at Clemson, Converse, Limestone, PC, USC Lancaster, Winthrop, York Tech. Visit foundersfcu.com. A full listing to find an ATM or office near you. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. All right, let's hit the phones here because he has been persistent, and we reward persistency here on Sports Talk.
Oh, persistence.
Is that the word?
Mm-hmm.
Persistence. Not persistency?
No.
Okay. We reward persistence here on. You Googled that, didn't you?
It is normalcy, not normalcy.
There's not a word called persistency.
You Googled that too, huh?
No.
Did you Google it?
No, I just learned it in English class my 7th grade year.
Let's go to Bulldog Bert.
And I'm back. Ronnie from North Augusta said last week that I was missing in action.
Yes, where you
Ronnie,
been?
I hadn't get nowhere. I had to call in on the program. The lines are jammed.
Yes, it's hard to get through.
It's hard to get through.
Hard to get through. Yeah.
But I just wanted to let y'all know, after listening to your program tonight, I am more optimistic about us, Georgia, playing Tennessee Saturday than I have been all week.
Why is that? Why would you feel that way?
Because the way y'all are favoring the home team.
Yeah.
You said Deshaun Watson, I believe it was Professor, that he's going to come out, this new quarterback we had never seen. He's going to be something. The way he played against Georgia Tech, just dismissed the way he played against Troy.
He's
He's going to be all of a sudden this Heisman contender quarterback.
Have you seen him play?
Been reading about on the internet and Googling about.
Bert, there's a pretty big sample size with Deshaun Watson of outstanding play. I mean, I can go back to his freshman year against Georgia. Remember his first drive? Remember his first drive as a college football player? How did that one end up?
He did have,
touchdown.
You mentioned Troy. He did have 355 total yards and 3 touchdowns.
And that was one of his worst games.
I know he had a couple of picks. I know he had a couple of picks, but I think most people would sign up for 400 yards.
I haven't seen Jacob Eason have a game like that.
And he had 6 drops.
I'm so glad we played out of Louisville last week.
Yeah.
We're going to play Tennessee this week.
How's little old Jacob doing? How's that little quarterback of yours doing?
Well, he's going to be phenomenal this weekend because he's just been holding back for SEC East play.
Smart. Yeah. Hey, how is Nick Saban wannabe, but not Nick Saban, Kirby Smart treating you?
Well, he better get smart quick.
Well, let's see. Jacob Eason last week, he was red hot. Boy, I'd take these numbers over what Deshaun did against Troy. Eason was 16 of 36 for 137 yards.
Big time. I mean, hey, why isn't he in the Heisman talk? You know what? We have votes. We should vote. Number one on my list.
He immediately moves to the top of the Heisman list.
Bulldog Bert, they're being cynics with you, but I will tell you this:
you got beat by Deshaun Watson, version 2.
Yeah,
because Chad Kelly lit you up for 282 yards.
His backup beat you.
The best quarterback they ever had at Clemson, they got rid of.
I think they're happy.
I think they're not. Yeah, they're not regretting life. You act like Deshaun Watson's.
I think. Hey, before you guys come to Columbia, I predict Marshall Long will be your starting quarterback. Who the hell is Marshall Long?
Well, hopefully Saturday you won't find out because we're going to beat Tennessee. We're going to be leading the East, and Jacob Eason is going to come storming into Columbia with a win. And everybody's going to be talking about us. We'll probably be back in.
They're going to be talking about you. Yeah, you're going to be widely discussed after this weekend. Exactly what you want to hear, but you're going to be talked about.
No, I think they're going to beat Tennessee. I really do. I don't trust Butch Jones, and Butch Jones is he got his team fired up, and they woke up against Florida, And I think I just think mentally there's going to be another letdown. His teams go up on the elevator, up, down, up, down.
Well, we shall see. That was a beat down that they had at Ole Miss Saturday, and it wasn't even close. I mean, they just
and Ole Miss
jumped on them
that.
from the beginning. Yeah, I mean, they've had a lot of – it was 17-0 at the end of one, 31-0 at halftime, and they continued it in the third quarter.
And they had to. Remember what their coach said at halftime on the SEC network. He says, look, don't worry about us not knowing what we got to do in the second half because we'd already learned in 2 games because they've blown 2 big leads.
All right, before we leave you tonight, I do want to get a little bit of this Jadar Johnson out there because if you haven't heard it, it's pretty good stuff from the Clemson safety out of Orangeburg Wilkinson talking about this Louisville offense and talking about Lamar Jackson. I think either he's not really paying attention and studying up, or he's heard enough of it and is trying to put his foot down. Here he is talking about the Tiger defense getting ready for Louisville.
I feel like it's definitely a big game for the defense. You know, even after the Georgia Tech game, I'm pretty sure we still have a lot of doubters out there. You know, and it's always good to come back week in and week out and just show that you can be consistent with it. So I feel like us having a good game right here shows that we have good consistency.
When you're going up against someone as dual as Lamar Jackson, how does that test you in the secondary and the back end?
That's number 8.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't really feel like we have to step out of our element or, you know, jump up another notch to really stop him. I feel like we have the tools and we have the skill set to limit him. And I don't really see any worries with him. Not saying that he's not a good player. He's definitely a good player. You know, I haven't really seen a quarterback, you know, as versatile as him. But, you know, I feel like we have a pretty good defense. So just my confidence in the defense and just us as a whole unit, you know, I don't think it'll be that much of a challenge.
What will you do if he tries to hurdle you?
I'm going to slam him. Yeah, I don't really too much worry about the scores of the other games that they played. You know, we're obviously a whole different defense. You know, I don't know what those teams did in their schemes. I don't know what their game plan was going into the game. But, you know, I'm just real confident in Coach V's game plan for us. And I just want to go out there, you know, and execute it to full ability. And I feel like if we do that, you know, it'll be a different outcome.
Is it tough to go against a guy like Lamar to be blocking?
Yeah, it's a little more difficult, but I kind of just related like to the Georgia Tech game, you know, with their quarterback. You know, he ran around a lot before he threw the ball. So it's all really about eye discipline. As long as you keep your eyes on your key, if you're reading your key, you can't really see what he's doing back there. You know, and if he runs around 10 seconds and throw the ball away, as long as you have your eye on your key, you know, you'll be in the right spot. So I don't really feel like it'll have us out of position too much.
All right, Jadar Johnson. Probably the most, if you want to call that outspoken, probably the most outspoken of the Clemson people talking about Louisville. Again, Clemson's defense, they've earned their respect. They've earned their swag. They've earned the right to talk because they've been so good the last several years. So, you know, I mean, who's got, except for what Alabama did to them in the championship game, and some of that was special teams and some big plays. But I mean, you know, except for Florida State busting that one big play early against them, they didn't do anything against Clemson last year. Louisville didn't do anything against them.
Notre Dame had probably outside of those two the best offense.
They did. They did. They still kept the scoring down in that game, as I recall. So they, you know, they deserve the right to talk a little, you know, smack and say, okay, we'll come prove it. So we'll see if Louisville can prove it on Saturday night.
They're in their home. You don't come to my house and just think you're just going to explode on people.
Yeah. Final thoughts, K-Mac?
None.
Good.
0.
Perfect.
Said it all.
A fabulous way to end the show. Yankees still alive. 4 down, 4 to go. We'll see if they remain alive. See you tomorrow night.
Buck.
It is a pretty little stadium they have there at Houston.
Get him in the Big 12.
Pretty little stadium.
I gotta get out of here.
All right, hope everything's okay with the youngster.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
I guess you'll be up in the middle of the night taking care of it.
Of course, that's what Kevin Sutherland was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's just a plain little stadium. I bet you they built it on the cheap.
Well, it's a private school.
35, 40,000. Is it a private school, Houston? Why is University of Houston a private school? I mean, who's it backed by? You sure it's private?
I think it's private.
I don't think it's. I never heard of it being a private school. You might be right.
Actually, at 5. Thought we had dodged.
Check it out because I almost tell you this is private school.
Let's see. Google is University of Houston private or public? Here we go.
It's a Dayton Catholic school.
University of Houston
is rated the best public school for budding entrepreneurs. Yeah, it's public.
Houston, yeah.
University of Houston has its best public undergraduate university.
Was it Texas?
No, in the country, maybe in Texas. University of Houston.
It can't be because Rice didn't Rice.
Well, no, Rice is private.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. See everybody tomorrow.
Well, you won't see me, but I'll be on from Atlanta. Yeah.
In the ATL. Oh, is this where the grandson comes?
Saturday morning, 9:30. Don't be late.
At 9:30, like you got it all set up?
Yeah. She's having a C-section, so she's scheduled. Which is really, had I thought about that, I'd have done that with my kids. Instead of getting up at 4 a.m. and rushing to the hospital. Shit, this planning stuff is a good deal. No. Not anymore. Kids, women, they schedule it now. Now, once you have one, there's no going back. I mean, apparently you can't deliver naturally, or it's more difficult, more dangerous. That's why you have C-sections again.
Well, you have the C-section. C-section, if you plan on having more kids, they put a zip in. So the next time,
just unzip it.
Yeah, unzip it.
We're
ready. All right, see you, Tom.
All right.
These Heisman Trophy winners are not aging gracefully. Tim Brown looks old as shit. Doug Flutie's looking a little old.
He is kind of old.
I wonder how many of those Heisman Trophy winners look at other winners and go, "You won the Heisman Trophy?
What did you do?"
I'm sure they look at George because George, coming from South Carolina, shitty program. A lot of people thought Hugh Green was going to win it that year, but people didn't want to give it to a defensive player. This was before Charles Woodson won it. There'd never been a defensive player to win it. But Hugh Green of Pittsburgh was the stud player. And but they gave it to George. Of course, George did rush for about 1,700 yards. And he had big games against Michigan and Southern Cal. And he was a stud. You're talking 6'3", 230, and could run like a deer. Could run like a deer. You got a date or something? You do? Yeah. No wonder you're such a rack. Who is this? Another blind date?
No, this is the third time we've gone out.
Oh.
I actually like this guy. He's got potential.
Why did you park so far away yesterday?
Oh, that's not the privacy box.
And you parked there because?
Because I don't have access to this parking deck, and it's free parking over there.
They didn't give you a parking thing? Why?
The key to this building or a parking pass.
Did they hire you? Did they hire you to be here long term?
Matt didn't even know I was full time.
As of how long ago?
As of yesterday. I said, "Can I get a key to the building?" Last weekend, they called Bill to let me in because I left my computer here. He was like, "You're full time? We don't give keys to part time people."
Oh my gosh.
From 12 to 8, like.
That's funny.
I just thought you were part time for us and part time for them too. Like, yeah.
Here's a Here's another Heisman thing. That's funny. Well, you can get in the building now because you know the code out there.
But I don't have a key to this door.
Oh yeah. Is he getting you one?
He said he would.
All right. Check one. That was a good show tonight. Good content. Good content. Okay, you ready? All right. Coming down. 6'7". I'll change this guy's height to 6'7". Ibrahim Doumbia. Great day. Excuse me. All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. USC on Thursday picked up a commitment in basketball from 6'7" Ibrahim Doumbia. Coming down in 3, 2, 1. USC Thursday landed a coming down in 3, 2, 1. You Damn it, Jim, I need more power. Where's that from? What's that from? Yes. Damn it, Jim, I need more power. That's the original Star Trek. Coming down in 3, 2, 1. USC Thursday landed a basketball commitment from 6'7" Ibrahim Doumbia. He's a Mali native who attends school in Miami. He picked the Gamecocks over Florida, Tennessee. Fudge, I need to look at these schools. I didn't have this in front of me. Tennessee, Baylor. Coming down 3, 2, 1. USC on Thursday landed a basketball commitment from 6'7" Ibrahim Doumbia, a Mali native who goes to school in Miami. He visited USC earlier in the month. That was the only visit he needed to decide where he wanted to go to college. He also had committable offers from Florida, TCU, Tennessee, Baylor, and others. He's the Gamecocks' second commitment for the 2017 class. In football, offensive lineman Jerry Drake Jr. of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, will make an official visit to USC this weekend. Defensive back Natron Culpepper of Miami rescheduled his official visit to USC from this coming weekend to the following weekend. And Clemson remains in backer Drew Singleton and defensive end Corey Bowles of Paramus, New Jersey. Phil Kornbluth, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports. How long? 49. That'll work. That will work. So what's the young lady's name?
Her name is Julianne.
Ooh.
And Julianne is a master's student in anthropology.
Hey.
And
She likes looking at old bones.
no, she's linguistics anthropology. Oh my God. No, but she's also a big Star Trek nut like I am.
She is?
Yeah, you weren't going to stump me on that one.
Yeah.
That was any other 27-year-old you may have gotten, but not this one.
Yeah, you just did it wrong.